Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Sam and I cannot believe that it is time to do my May monthly wrap up, but I did have quite the reading month. I ended up reading 13 books, which is amazing, and I feel like I had quite a few high rated books as well. So let's just jump in and talk about them. Looking through some of these books, I feel like I read them like months ago, so we'll see how much I can actually talk about them. So starting out the month, I continued the Valentine's Day collection of short stories that Amazon did with a bunch of different authors. And so I was up to A Play for Love by Trelina Pucci. I was pretty excited about this one because I read a couple of Trelina Pucci's super spicy, shorter books. And so I was hoping that this one was going to be some of the same, but it wasn't quite hitting. The first half of this book felt wild. It felt like a fever dream, honestly, and felt like really juvenile. But then the second half was much stronger. It was kind of a second meeting and they did a bunch of activities together, and it was just really sweet, and I really enjoyed the text exchanges. So I settled on like a 3-star for this. Definitely middle of the road. Not the best thing that I've read, but definitely not the worst in this little collection either. Next, I listened to Starstruck by Lauren Conrad. This is the second book in the Fame Game series. I rated this 3 stars again. This came off like really whiny, and there just wasn't enough depth. Like, I feel like all of our characters had plot lines and situations that they were dealing with, but we never really got to see any of it. I feel like it was just very glossed over, and this is just like a silly little like teen chick lit. So it makes sense why it was put together the way that it was put together, but by this point I feel like it was just getting very repetitive of LA Candy and the first series that she did, and it wasn't necessarily giving anything new. So I wasn't really enjoying this one much at all, but I'm glad that I continued and did end up reading this one or listening to this one. Next, I read The Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan. This is book 1 in the Kane Chronicles, and this was also in a reading vlog, along with a couple other books in this wrap up, so I'll link that up in the cards. But I really enjoyed this one. I ended up reading this 4 stars. Rick Riordan is always such a nostalgic read for me because I did grow up reading all the Percy Jackson books, and I love the nods to the Percy Jackson series in here as well. And when I was in grade 5, I was like absolutely obsessed with the unit on ancient Egypt. And so this was a lot of fun to kind of get back to that, and made me really surprised that I didn't read this before now, because I do really wish that I had more of that readily available knowledge of ancient Egypt. It's been a really long time since I've learned or read anything about that, but I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a setting that I don't read a lot of and don't necessarily see a lot of in the mainstream hyped books, I feel like. So I would definitely be interested in seeing or reading more books that fall into this sort of category. But back to this book at hand, I thought the magic system was really fun, really well done. We were bopping around to all these different places. It was definitely fast paced, like there was a lot going on. Yeah, I just thought this one was a lot of fun. And honestly, I feel like it deserves more hype in like the world of Percy Jackson fans. Like, I feel like even growing up, no one really talked about this series. Next, I finished off the Fame Game series and listened to Infamous by Lauren Conrad. This was another 3-star. I do feel like it was a bit stronger than book 2, but all of my thoughts are kind of the same, just very teeny bopper, chick lit, like reality TV drama. And again, just like tried to do a lot or tried to do more with the plot, but didn't really land anywhere. I do enjoy the way that it ended. I thought it was sweet. Next, jumping back to the Amazon Valentine's Day short story series, I read Death to Valentine's Day by Catherine Cowles. This was 4 stars. I absolutely love this one. This was a fully fledged out story. Our characters had history. It made sense. I was on the edge of my seat, stressed out, not sure what was going to happen. The twist was a little odd. I feel like it should have been somebody else, but I really enjoyed this one. I wanted more from these characters. I probably could have read a full-length book of this one. I really enjoyed it. Definitely need to read Catherine Cowell's other full-length novels. She's been pretty high on my like want to read list for a while, and I don't know why I've never picked any of her books up. Next, I finished off those Amazon short stories and read Valentine's Sleigh by Navessa Allen. I really enjoyed this one. I thought this was a fun, like darker romance kind of vibe. I thought the plot was really silly, but also had some like deeper messaging as well that I really appreciated. I loved like you could feel their connection. I was on the edge of my seat. I was stressed about what was gonna happen. And yeah, it was just really sweet. I just really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a lot of fun and just like Vessa Allen's classic like, dark comedy. I'm sorry if the camera angle changed a bit. I just kicked my tripod. But the next book that I read was Almost Ravaged by Abby Millsaps. And if you want to see my full reactions to this book, it is in that card that I added from the reading vlogs that I did this past month. I love this. This was 4.5 stars for me. This was dark right from the jump, but I was obsessed. I needed to know what was happening. I loved our characters. I love the school setting, the connection that they have, and like the trauma bond of Sawyer and her brother and brother's best friend that's also kind of an adopted foster brother. I just really loved it. But then also in this new school, in this new place, and meeting friends, and oh, it's so good. There's so many tropes and like things in here that I don't necessarily want to give away because I definitely went into this blind, as I do most of my books. But definitely, if you have anything that triggers you that you like to stay away from, definitely check the trigger warnings because this is dark. But yeah, hockey, college, romance, so good. I need to pick up the rest of the series ASAP. Next, I listened to Paris Hilton's memoir. I think it's just called Paris. And I ended up rating this 4 stars. I know a lot of people don't rate memoirs, and I rate them for the like production of them, I guess, the structure. Obviously not the content because that's somebody's life. But there's a part of me that really feels like the ratings are important because that is definitely how some people pick up books. And if it doesn't have a high rating, then people aren't going to pick it up even if maybe they enjoy that person. Anyway, I really enjoyed the way that Paris structured this book and narrated it. I think she did a really good job. This is dark. Like, this is very heavy. Paris goes through so much, and I was too young to really see any of the activities that went on in the early 2000s. So I never really knew who Paris Hilton was, but just based on the way that like my mom would talk about her, I just thought she was this, you know, young ditzy party girl, and that's definitely not the case at all. She has this awful childhood, or I guess teenage years, that was just heartbreaking. And yeah, I don't know, just the way that she talked about her story was beautifully done. And Paris does write this kind of jumping all around, but in the very beginning of the book, she explains and sort of talks about her ADHD. And that really made me understand a lot more about her and how her brain works and made the story a lot easier to follow, at least for me personally. So I really appreciated that she did that. And I feel like it gave me even more of an appreciation for her story. Next, I read Blood and Betrayals by Jeanette Rose and Alexis Rune. Jumping like right off the back of physically reading Almost Ravaged, which is like a college hockey romance, and then going into Blood and Betrayals, which is like a fantasy university magic school dark romance mystery, was the best move. I was having the best time. I felt like I was at this magical school and I was enthralled from like the first page. Before I get too far into this, I want to thank NetGalley and the publisher and the authors for providing this e-arc. I need book 2 immediately. Like, I keep checking NetGalley to see if my request was approved to read book 2 because I can't wait until this actually releases. I'm going to lose my mind. I love these characters. I feel like the way that this book seems in terms of the romance would put people off, but you have to just trust the story and the ride that our characters have to go on, because everything is not as it seems. I'm just gonna leave it there. We get like crumbs from these other characters, and there's this mysterious plot line where you're not sure who is going around killing all of these fairies, and it's just so fun. I love the college setting. It's very nostalgic. I loved learning about the different worlds, being in the classrooms, learning about the magic system, the different lands that surround Avalon. I cannot talk about this book highly enough. This was 4.5 stars. I don't remember if I shared that or not. It just wasn't quite 5 stars because there were a few scenes that were just very repetitive, but I just love it. I love these characters, love this world. I cannot wait until book 2. Next, I read Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. I was really excited to go into this one because I feel like this one is much more highly rated and talked about compared to even Phantasma. But this was a 3 stars for me. I still enjoyed my time with it, but I just wish that we got a bit more. All the games or the challenges, I don't know how to necessarily describe what they did, were very repetitive. They were all kind of the same situation. There was no change to it. It was just kind of the way that the game started, but it was all the same premise. And I just wish that we got a bit more something, and I just didn't quite feel connected to any of the characters or the connection between the characters. And there was a few siblings to our male main character, and they all had very similar sounding names, and because everything was so repetitive and everything felt so similar, I could never get any of the characters straight. So I'm glad that I finally read this one and I'm caught up to the series. I think there's supposed to be another book, but I don't know if she's currently working on it or if there's a release date at all. So I'll probably read the next one, but this definitely isn't necessarily the highest rated series that I'm reading. Next, unfortunately, we had another dud. I read Bloody Heart by Sophie Lark, and this was 2 stars. This was very much early book talk style of book. Even the first interaction of our characters was so problematic. I very much physical attraction, very dominant male main character, but not in a like attractive way, more in a scary way, and I just could not get behind him. Never felt like there was any connection between our characters. We see our characters 10 years ago or something when they meet, when everything happens, and then there's a specific situation and our characters don't speak for 10 years, and then it picks up after that time jump. And the first like encounter was like almost half the book. And so when we get our characters back meeting again, there's just not enough time for our characters to actually reconcile and talk about everything that happened and believably be a good match for each other. Like, our characters didn't spend any time together. So yeah, 2 stars. There's also another plot that just kind of came out of left field that didn't make any sense to the characters. Maybe it's because I've waited so long to continue the series. Maybe it was discussed in the past books a little bit, but came out of nowhere and made absolutely no sense to their story. So I definitely want to finish off the series because I'm a glutton for punishment. I need to know everything that happens and I need that satisfaction to check it off my list. But yeah, I don't know how much more of her books I will be reading. I'm not necessarily taking any of them off my want to read list, so if they come up, they come up. But yeah, this was not great, but I did read it very quickly. Next, I read Rebecca Searle's new book, Once and Again. This was 3 stars. I enjoyed the premise. I thought it was very interesting. In this book, all of the women in this family have this one ticket that they can reverse time once in their life. And so the premise of having this, I don't know, get out of jail free card was very interesting because, like, at what point do you say, okay, I want to go back in time and hope that this doesn't happen, but by doing that, all of these other events that you lived might change. And so that was very interesting, but it was written very strange. Most of the book was written in first person, and some of the chapters were written in third person. And so it was just very hard to follow at times. And I didn't particularly like any of the characters, I don't think. This was a very weird read for me. Like, I did enjoy my time, and I felt like we needed more from the story and more explanation or something. But at the same time, I didn't want to read any more of this book. So it was fine. I'm glad I read it. It was definitely an interesting read, but definitely one that I don't think will stick with me. And then lastly, for the books that I have finished at this point is Unbound by Peyton Corinne. This was 5 stars. Oh boy, the things that these characters go through, they are just standing in their own way, but they keep finding each other, and their love is just so beautiful. The way that they see and care for each other is so sweet. This is a dual timeline book, and there was definitely situations where I would be reading it and we would be in the past for quite a while, and then once we jump back to the present day, I forget what had just happened and what, was stuff that they were just carrying with them from the past chapters. But this was just such a beautiful story. I don't necessarily want to give anything away because if you do read the rest of the series, I feel like I didn't see the two of them coming until like the end of book 2. But yeah, I cried after I finished this. Like, I felt like I couldn't stop crying. Just the pain and everything that they went through and everything that they still had to go through, and then where they finally were in the ending was just so beautiful, so raw, so painful. Definitely also check trigger warnings. This is a very heavy book. So definitely a very good reading month. I really enjoyed most of the books that I read, and even the ones that I didn't read, I was still like having fun reading, I guess. But that is everything for today's video. Let me know down below what your favorite book that you read in the month was, and maybe even the book that was your least favorite that you read this month. I would love to chat with you. And if you would like to find me on the other corners of the internet or to chat spoilers, all of my links are linked down below. I hope that you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.